Now, a group of hardline supporters of the Iranian government gathered overnight in central Tehran to celebrate the country's missile and drone attacks against Israel. The protesters waved flags of Palestine and Lebanese Hezbollah and chanted, "Death to Israel and death to America." Remember, Iran launched dozens of drones and ballistic missiles towards Israel in an unprecedented revenge mission that pushed the West Asian region even closer to a region-wide war. The attack marks the first time Iran has ever launched a direct military assault on Israel, despite decades of enmity dating back to the country's 1979 Islamic Revolution. Now, to take this discussion further, we are being joined by Dov Zakim, who is the former Undersecretary of Defense in George Bush's administration and currently a senior advisor at Center for Strategic and International Studies. Welcome to the broadcast, sir. I want to ask you, Iran says its attack should be seen as the matter has concluded. What is your assessment? Has the matter concluded?
Well, I doubt it. The Iranians were very careful. Frankly, I thought the Iranians would not do this. I thought it was stupid on their part. What has happened, as actually you've reported 200 missiles and drones. The number is now estimated to be 330 or even more, including 110 surface-to-surface missiles and 36 cruise missiles. So this was really serious. The Israelis, together with my country and the British and even the Jordanians, shot down virtually all of these attacking systems, most of them outside Israel. A 10-year-old Bedouin girl was injured. Some of these missiles were coming from not Iran itself, but from Hezbollah and from the Houthis. I don't know that it's over. Netanyahu has told his people, and you've recorded it there, that he's going to hit back. He made that very clear to the Iranians before the attack, and I think he's on the hook to do something. Now, at the same time, it's clear that President Biden would like to see a diplomatic solution to this, a stand down on both sides. And the Israelis, for their part, having basically been told by us not to go off half-cocked, have told, evidently, or reported to have told Washington that they will consult before they do anything. Now, the question really is, why did the Iranians do it? Yes, they said they were doing it because they were revenging the death of the Quds Force officials. But they could have done other things. They could have gone after Israeli embassies, Israeli citizens. Jews in New York City have been put on high alert, and the city government there is putting out protection for them. There were lots of things the Iranians could do. I suspect that they were trying to simply test the Israeli air defenses to see what could get through and how much could get through. Of course, Hezbollah has tons and tons of missiles, and that's another way to essentially try to threaten Israel. Now, the one other thing that has to be borne in mind is that the Israelis could, in theory, run out of all their air defense systems. So it's critical the United States continue to support them in that regard, and President Biden has made it very clear that he would.
Right. Mr. Zakim, some interesting points there. Bring in your expertise and your experience here. At a time like this, what happens in the war room in Washington? How does an quote-unquote ironclad support look like?
Well, the first thing they do is they separate out the Iranian attack from what's going on in Gaza. The commitment to the Israelis regarding Iran really is ironclad, partly because Americans have not forgotten what happened to our own people in the American embassy right after the Iranian Revolution. So that's very, very clear. I think that Congress will support additional arms to Israel, regardless of what it does on Ukraine, by the way. The number 2 person on the Republican House side, Congressman Scalise is calling for a new legislation to give us the Israelis everything they need. Certainly on the defensive side, and you've got to remember the Israelis have our Patriots, they have our THAAD, they work with us on their other air defense systems, on the Arrow system, on even David Sling. So much of the Israeli defenses are fundamentally either from the United States or in conjunction with the United States, and that is going to continue. The only question really is, would the United States support an offensive Israeli strike? And as I said, the Israelis have pretty much made it clear that they're not going to do that without consultation. And I would add not only consultation with the United States, but remember the British have shot down some of these targets, even the Jordanians. So there'll be consultation with others as well. Right. And that, I think, fits in with the Group of Seven meeting that's going to take place.
Mrs. Hakim, speaking of consultation, this attack also comes at the backdrop of a lot of back and forth between Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu over Gaza, specifically Rafah, where even though there was a consultation, there was still a lot of disagreement. Do you think that could complicate Washington's relationship towards Israel at a key time like this?
No, because Iran is a completely different situation. Now, Biden may tell Netanyahu, or his people may tell Netanyahu's people, to hold off on Rafah until the Iranian crisis is settled. And the Israelis may well do that, because Netanyahu has said he's going to go into Rafah, but he hasn't exactly said when. So that one is up in the air. But regarding Iran, I don't think there's any hesitation on the part of the majority of Republicans in the Congress, the majority of Democrats in the Congress, and in the White House to do whatever is needed to ensure that Israel remains safe.
All right. Mrs. Hakim, I also want to talk to you about the relationship that Israel and US, of course, shares. But, you know, before this attack happened, about on Friday, I was speaking to an analyst from Tehran who was definitely defending Iran's stance in all of this, but also made it sound like Iran would attack, at that point of time, Iran would attack Israel because of a moral cause, which can also be seen reflecting in Iran's letter to the United Nations, where it has invoked Article 51. What do you make of that?
Well, look, the Iranians, of course, have made that case. They won't recognize Israel. They said they want to destroy it. There were enough indications that the United States picked up that this attack was imminent, and we warned the Israelis, and the Israelis were ready for it. It's clear because virtually nothing got through to Israel. The Iranians are going to say whatever they say. Look, they went and attacked the Israelis for attacking an embassy, not pointing out, of course, that they were the ones who held hostages in '79, that they've destroyed American embassies, blown up Israeli embassies, or tried to. So, you know, I mean, the Iranians will say whatever they say. It's pure propaganda and pure rubbish.
All right, Mrs. Hakim, I see that you're trying to differentiate between what's happening between Iran and Israel, at the same time what's happening between Israel and Gaza. But do you think about what's happening right now and what is to come, which is even more important, do you think that's going to have zero bearing on what's happening in Gaza?
No, not at all. I suspect that precisely because the United States is going to come to Israel's aid over Iran, it gives Biden additional leverage over Netanyahu to say, look, we're saving you on Iran. Now you had better follow our concerns and not go into Rafah. So I suspect that might very well be the connection. And since Netanyahu desperately needs American aid regarding Iran, he may have to think twice about Rafah, which in any event, a lot of Israelis themselves are much more concerned about saving as many hostages as still might be alive rather than going into Rafah. So there is a connection. The connection is simply that this allows the American administration to tell the Israelis, if you want us to support you on Iran, and we're doing that, don't expect us necessarily to support you on Rafah. We think you ought to pay attention to us.
All right, Mr. Sakim, you make a very important point there. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on WION and getting us all those insights.
Well, thank you for having me.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.